Good morning.
It's been such a long time since Boston led the way. It's more than a feeling. It's Mike and Tom to start the day. The heart of Massachusetts should be freedom, justice, and liberty. Freedom led pilgrims to Plymouth Bay. Salem trials had justice too late. The sons of liberty spilled the tea, and then the redcoats spilled their blood. The shot heard around the world rang out from the Bay State. Boston's strong and ready to defend. It's where revolution started and ends. It's been such a long time since Boston led the way. It's more than a feeling. It's Mike and Tom to start the day. Quincy Market, Freedom Trail, Charles River, Boston Harbor, Bunker Hill, Griffin's Wharf, Fenway Park, Omar Charge. It's been such a long time since Boston led the way. It's more than a feeling. It's Mike and Tom to start the day.
Wow, look who's here.
Boom.
Boom.
Good morning. How is
Hey.
everybody?
All right, man.
Doing great. How about you? Thank you for coming on the show this morning, Nan.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm a big fan. I like to get situated in the morning listening to you guys. So it's always
Okay.
yeah, it's like a lot of guys will listen to like Sports Center on ESPN. I like Seeking Justice. That's very telling about my personality and where my priorities lie. So I'm a
love
big
it.
fan. Thanks for having me.
We're a big fan too. We're glad you
And
came on.
so
Thank you.
the nickname LaFerno. Sorry, it flows. It's there. That's it. That's you. Like, brr.
I appreciate that. You know, Tom, I have to tell you, if you don't know this, you are mispronouncing my handle. My handle is Laferio,
Yes.
but you call me Laferno, which I have to be honest with you, is better and more significant to me than Laferio because it sounds like inferno, and I'm really a fiery personality if people didn't notice. So I actually think it's going to stick, and I might change my handle in the coming days. So you call me.
That would be so good because it really does fit. Like it does. It does.
Thank you. And by the way, like I have to say, like I didn't mean to correct you and say, oh, you're wrong. I think it's adorable, and you may be seeing a different change in my name in the coming days, everybody. You heard it here first.
So the problem that I have is I meet so many people, I have to, in my head, think of a name so that I remember who's who. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, and a lot of great people in this movement.
And you know what I love about the term Laferno and Inferno? Because I like to ambush a lot of the content creators and just swoop into the chats and either drop some insights or drop some donations when I can, or sponsorships. And it's kind of like it has that fiery appeal to it. So I love it.
And speaking of the donations, you've been extremely grateful amongst all of us. So if they haven't thanked you for that, please, that we all appreciate it. And you know, it is what it is. And we get shit for it no matter what. So it is what it is. Call us grifting or singing or fly, whatever. I don't care.
Somebody coined me on Twitter the other day as like an inverted grifter, which I have to say I love as well, because I'm not going to be creating a channel. I'm not hitting people up for money. I'm just simply giving of my own time and proceeds I may have to support Karen and content creators who are getting the word out that's accurate. So it's not grifting whether I'm doing it or whether you're all doing it. You're doing this to spread attention and awareness. And I have such a remarkable level of respect for that. So, you know, everyone who thinks it's grifting, I'm going to keep this G-rated because you're only at 9 a.m. They can all go fly a kite.
Yep.
Oh, you can say fuck you.
Can I? No,
You're allowed. It's going to happen. That's okay.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
Really,
so
there are
many
worse things in the world. None of us woke up with a murder charge over our head, did we?
No, thank God. Thank
Oh.
God. And it's interesting because I've been on so many different streams over the last like 2 or 3 weeks. I can't even remember like, okay, what time of day is it? Whose rules should I follow? I'm so deferential to all of the different hosts. But I have to tell you both, your streams that I listen to as regularly as I can are so important to me because it's like a daily dose of news. Also, you touch upon the local relevance to what you're talking about, and the two of you also do something that which is so important to me, which is to calm and situate people, especially when there's bumps in the road, or even if there's good news, like Ted Daniel had his multiple piece article or news stories on her. That's very calming to people who are invested in this movement. So I find seeking justice to be like a security blanket to me. So keep it going.
Wow.
Mike,
Thank you.
I have to say,
Oh, wow.
how do I, like what you just said? Me and Mike talk about that, right? And I try and find words for it, and we can't. Because we have people all around the world watching us, and we don't know where they come from.
I know I've heard you both comment on like someone was in from Missouri and then there was Montana or another, and I'm going, I have no idea, but it must have something to do with the algorithm. And also, I know you both know this, but all of the other content creators, they're so complimentary to you both. So if anyone's following them, it's like a domino effect. People are going to say who's seeking justice and seek you out.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm a real big fan of both of you. I also will tell you though, Boston Mike's Twitter posts or tweets, whatever the hell they're called now, they're some of my favorite. Like I can't.
I know. I have a really sick sense of humor sometimes.
So do I. I can absolutely relate to it.
But laughter is like the best medicine sometimes, right? Like you just chuckle during the day. Like, isn't it just make your day?
It does. And even as, I've been on Twitter since 2019, but I guess in the last few weeks, I became much more attentive to it.
Yeah.
And I went from like having 180 followers to like, I don't know, it's over 3,000 in like 2 weeks. But I will tell you, the best part about it is the comedy. Like I laugh and I laugh. Last night, Auntie Deb put together like a vignette of me, which I was laughing about. Joe Flipperhead, like this is the stuff. This is stuff that keeps me going. And honestly, I don't know Karen, but I can tell you, I imagine it keeps her going too.
I hope so.
Yeah,
actually, I know so.
At the end of the day, right? We're blessed. I have a question. Like, Nan, you're from around here, right?
I'm from New Jersey, and I'm about 30 minutes out of Manhattan.
Okay, so
let's end it there.
So from that far away, the optics. What are the optics of this whole trial from New Jersey?
Well, let me first answer you, Tom, by saying this. There's a reason, if anyone hasn't noticed it, that streamers like Melanie Little of New York, an attorney, Robert Alessi, the attorney who's now pro-hocked in from New York, and Mark Bedro, who hopefully soon will be approved to be added from New York. And I'm also a New York licensed attorney. There's a reason New York licensed attorneys, in addition to many other states, are speaking up. In my locale, which one would call the New Jersey, New York metropolitan area, we know what's up. We not only know what's up in terms of a sham prosecution, but we also know what's up in terms of what is perceivable bias in that courtroom. It's palpably, it like rubs against our grain, because this is the shit that won't fly in a Manhattan courthouse. It just doesn't.
Are you familiar with Colonel Noble from New Jersey?
I am not. Who
All
is
right. Well, Noble, our new Massachusetts State Police Colonel is originally retired from Jersey. I don't know if you had any history of him at all down there at all.
I don't have history of him, but I do remember that an individual from New Jersey was appointed.
Yeah.
And I will say this. I don't have familiarity with him, but I do have some police defense experience in my backdrop, because a lot of people kind of slight me on the troll side saying, well, what would a healthcare attorney from New Jersey know anything about this case? And just so you probably have heard me say this, but I do criminal defense work. I've been doing this for 25 years. I also will tell you that prior to getting into healthcare, I defended a lot of police stations, departments, entities, a lot of.
Okay, so you got hands on then. You've seen and dealt with what we're seeing.
Yes, which is
Okay.
one of the reasons why someone like me, and there are others, we look at it and say, this isn't the way the cops are supposed to work, or the troopers. It doesn't work this way. And this kind of plausible deniability that goes on between them, like, oh, well, we assumed they were going to be handling it, or we didn't know all these unidentified individuals who showed up at the team with the CERT team thereafter. There's all these pictures of people, no one knows who they are. That would never fly. The whole crime scene, cordoning off of the crime scene, the lack of interviewing witnesses and sequestering witnesses, like that is not per protocol. And also, I've been saying, and I know others have too, I do believe, and I truly hope there's going to be some type of law enforcement procedure type of expert in 2.0, because I want the defense, and I hope they listen, but I would love to see the defense kind of put forward some evidence before this jury so they understand that what law enforcement did here in terms of investigating, it was a rush to judgment. They did not, uncover every stone.
Right.
Even if we were to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that they there was no conspiracy, law enforcement should have come in and checked a bunch of boxes and went through a bunch of steps. So I'm hoping there's a proceduralist who can come in and testify about that.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
are you familiar with microdots?
I've never met him, but I avidly watch his videos.
All right. He did one that shows how good that the entire Braintree police force and the DA's office, and how well they did with the crime scene. And you look at that, and you look at what they did at Fairview. I don't think they got a warrant for her phone. I don't think they got a warrant for her car. I don't think they got a warrant for anything. Like, how is that possible? But yet it's admissible. Like, no chain of custody. That blows my mind. How is you have witnesses that aren't even there's no statements. Like,
yeah, it does. And to you, a lay person, you're like, this is blowing my mind. To me, as an attorney, I look at it and say, I have no idea. And a lot of attorneys feel that way as well. I can tell you that I don't know firsthand that they didn't have a warrant for the phone, but I'm going to assume that I heard of several people say it. So there's plenty I don't know, but I know
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the warrant yet. Wouldn't that get turned over into discovery?
It would have, but also if there wasn't a warrant, it likely and most likely would have been challenged already. You would have seen that. And for example, I don't know if either of you follow the Brian Koberger case out in Idaho, the Idaho student murders, but nonetheless, that is proceeding towards trial out in Idaho, and the attorney for the defendant is challenging the lack of a warrant or the underpinnings of a warrant for certain evidence.
Right.
Usually there's a challenge beforehand, but I've heard several people tell me there wasn't a warrant for the phone. I have not heard that, but
I mean, what?
Yeah.
I don't even know how he can determine probable cause, but he can get that, right? He can just say it is. But
well, yeah, but Yes, he can, but let's for a moment go to the other side of the probable cause issue, Tom, because if there's probable cause to go after Karen and to arrest her, what about what I perceive to be probable cause or the exception to it, which is called exigent circumstances
Yep.
that would have permitted law enforcement to go into Brian Albert's home? That
Exactly.
was such a it wasn't a missed opportunity. It was discussed in the first trial, but it was really just brushed off by the prosecution's witnesses. It was, no, we didn't feel there was probable cause. Yet a dead cop on the front lawn, who knows?
Of another cop's house. Wait a minute. And they're not answering the phone? Whoa, wait a minute, right?
I want you on that jury, Tom. Somehow I think you'd get bounced for being biased, but yes. But yeah, you had at another cop's home, you had people not answering phones. You had the alleged inconsistent stories coming out at the time. You have key fact witnesses for the prosecution who have testified now, saying as clear as day they heard Karen say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, which is absolute bullshit. Which, as an aside, if I may, I also want to let you both know, I also have represented in my healthcare field hundreds of paramedics and EMTs. So,
okay, so you know that procedure on top of that.
Right. So, it gets kind of lost in the weeds when I hear people like Flamati and there were other medical technicians who came, and I forget all of their names. But when they start saying things under oath that, well, yes, I heard her say that, but it's not in my report, or no, it's not in what I communicated to the medical staff at the hospital. That would absolutely be in a report. That absolutely would have been communicated as a handoff to the hospital emergency department staff. And that's why, in my opinion, a lot of nurses like Nurse Kim and all of her followers, they feel so strongly not only about the lack of correlation of the injuries to the alleged type of accident from their experience, because they really see it boots on the ground in their nursing practices. But nurses also know what happens when EMTs and paramedics bring victims in to the emergency department. There's always a, quote, handoff. And that handoff is, and many people may have even seen it on dramatic programs on mainstream channels. Think of like Grey's Anatomy or ER. Someone is bringing in a victim off of an ambulance into the emergency department, and there's either been calls ahead of time, which usually happens.
Heads up. Yep.
And then the handoff where they say, this is what happened. And the first thing that the staff at the hospital wants to know is like, well, what happened here? So they know what to look at.
How much trauma? A little, medium, or a lot? Where are we starting?
Right. And as I was preparing for your this call this morning, I re-listened to the medical examiner's testimony, Scorty Bello, just because I wanted to refresh my recollection on some key points. And, I would encourage everyone, as the trial 2.0 approaches, re-listen to her as well. She did not go, as we all know, she would not commit to a cause of death, a cause of these injuries, etc. She talked about possibilities, and she wouldn't go that far. Proctor ended up calling her a whack job in texts, just because she wouldn't go as far as committing. She did not allow herself to be pressured by the prosecution to commit to something she wasn't comfortable doing. But even she knows, and I would encourage Karen's defense team to ask her. She knows what happens when there's handoffs at hospitals. She knows when those texts will come in and say, probable struck by a vehicle, etc., or there was an admission on the scene. She absolutely hit him. Scorty Bello actually says like the injuries didn't match up because the car, the Lexus, is more elevated, and she didn't see injuries or bruises, of a significant nature below like the chest area.
He didn't even have a black and blue on his legs.
Yep.
How's
So
that possible?
it's like putting a puzzle together for all of us. We all bring what we bring into the mix and we say, this is how I look at it. I'm Tom CPU. You know, I'm looking at it this way. Someone like me, I look at it from the legal, you know, acrobatics involved and maybe a little healthcare and police experience. Also, I have a really high bullshit factor, and I think you guys do too.
Yeah.
And then someone like Boston Mike like approaches this, and the sense I get from you, Mike, and I've never met you, is like, this is all bullshit. Like what's you're gonna have to prove to me that I'm not losing my mind.
Yep.
But it's just a bunch of gaslighting. So anything I can ever do for the two of you to try to help give you some insight if you ever need it, or
we got questions. I have a question.
yeah.
Well, I got two.
Are you watching the road, Tom?
Absolutely.
Oh,
One, did you listen to the 911 call?
yes.
That okay. And just that's in itself. And the second question. What was the second question?
It'll come to you. That 911 call.
Horrific.
Well, it is horrific, and I have a lot of experience with them, deciphering them, understanding them, just from a lot of things I do in the civil healthcare field as well as the criminal one. But that 911 call is really telling to me, not only because of well, I won't bore your morning audience as they're only partly caffeinated, but I look at it and I say, there's a detachment coming from Jen McCabe. It clearly sounds rehearsed. She doesn't even refer to him by name or the fact that he's a police officer.
Correct.
She mentioned something about, something about like how he's been out there for a few hours or something like that. It's unclear to me how she knew certain things at the time that she made that call.
Yep.
And also, there was just no, in my opinion, like a level of urgency, and it also seemed moderately hushed at the time. And if he was her friend and she's so shocked and horrified by everything that's gone on, I can tell you as a woman, and everyone's different, but if as a woman, I would have been on that phone and I would have been screaming for someone to get there and help my friend
Right now. Yep.
Officer John O'Keefe, Officer Down, etc. Those are little tells that I think even the most commonsensical person with or without a law degree would say, And I'm really disappointed that the jury did not seem to do that in trial 1.0.
That was my second question. Me and Mike, we have like a favorite person, right? But what do you think, and has it ever been, that a investigator sits and babysits a jury? Mr. Fanning, me and Mike's buddy.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on him sitting on babysitting the jury?
This is completely inappropriate. So just, you know what? Before I continue, I saw you got a super chat in. I'm going to make this offer to you both and to your audience. I don't know how many people are watching, Mike.
On
Yeah, I'm
Twitter?
going to make you do some work.
1,000 people.
Yeah. And
All
then
right.
on
Look,
Twitter,
I can't get to all super chats, but I'm going to say this. If you guys throw Tom and Mike a super chat this morning, I will match 50% of it in a donation later today to the Karen Reed Defense Fund.
Oh, okay,
I do
Guys, be easy.
Yeah.
Be easy on Nan, really, please. Be easy on her.
But seriously, and when I say your super chats, like I may not get to all your questions. This is like a different kind of morning show where it's more just we're having a real conversation.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I want everyone to know, like, these are two really hardworking guys, and I want to show I want to reward them, and I want to keep paying money to that defense fund. I'm not grifting. I don't get a dime out of it, but just please keep showing up. So anyway, Tom,
Yes.
back to your question. So the Fanning watching the jury. So I had heard buzzings about it. I think I heard Aiden mention that previously. And then Alan Jackson revealed it during the Ted Daniel interview. This is wholly improper. The jury is supposed to be shielded from all external influences other than like the bare bones. Is the temperature okay? What do you guys want for lunch? Does anyone have any reason we can't adjourn a little early or stay a little later today? It's like the logistics. The fact that there was a lead law enforcement officer who also had ties to some other pending matters up there, which are making news stories. Also, he was a witness in the case. That should never have happened. To what, Mike?
Oh, someone's saying hi to me in the chat. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I
was giving peace sign.
I'm new to the Seeking Justice team.
So it's all right, man. It's all right. It's all right. You're learning. It's good.
I'm learning my way.
People always say, "What's up, Mike?" in the chat. So I just give them instead of saying something, I don't want to cut you off. I just give them a.
Oh, you guys are so sweet. But it's so incestuous is the word I would use, and improper. And I call bullshit. Now, Alan was very diplomatic when he mentioned it to Ted Daniel. He said, "Do I have knowledge that this was in any way improper in terms of maybe what Fanning's actions were?" No. Does he think it should be looked into? Yes. I can tell you Judge Bev knew about it, and she should have taken steps to ensure that anyone who, quote, touched the jury in any way was detached. In my jurisdictions, and I'm licensed in 3 states and then several federal courts, that would have never happened. And we would have had a remedy, like there would have been an opportunity to challenge that earlier on. It sounds like the defense team didn't find out until right before closing. So it's bullshit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So you mentioned nurses. Would you bring a witness or put someone on the witness list, a nurse, that when John arrived, what were the conditions like?
You mean a nurse, like the nurse from the hospital?
Maybe, yeah. I would think so.
Because there's a subtle difference, Mike. Like if they want to call the nurse.
I want the nurse that actually touched John, helped with John in the hospital, Brockton Hospital. Would you call that nurse?
I would. That's a great question, because you hearken me back to my thought during the trial, which was I would have hoped that the defense team would have called the receiving end, whoever it was, an ER doctor, nurses, physician's assistants, APNs, anyone who received O'Keefe, anyone who maybe had incoming calls at the hospital from, the transport ambulance, and they didn't. Now, that is not a criticism.
Right.
But I understand from observing Trial 1.0 that they were really trying to minimize, and that's the wrong word. Keep it very truncated. Compartmentalize this, because I understand. To me, I am biased, but to me, I look like this was a very simple defense to present with a few witnesses, because they got so many Easter eggs and rewards out of cross-examining Commonwealth witnesses.
Correct.
But receiving end healthcare providers would have been notable. And the medical records don't notate, from what I understand from trial testimony, any type of admissions of Karen to the effect of "I hit him" or "this is a suspected motor vehicle accident." So that would have been helpful. And maybe the defense is listening now. You have to be a little careful with it, though, Mike, because never ask a question
you don't know the answer to. Yeah.
And the person of the Commonwealth could prep that.
You would want to know, obviously, before you put her on the stand, her or him. But I come from a family of nurses. My mother-in-law, a retired nurse. The doctors listen to them more than they do themselves. Am I right? The nurses run the show. They kind of run.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mike.
Right.
The nurses do run the show, and the nurses really think of nurses as the hardest laborers. Now, I have a lot of physician clients, and if any of them are listening, they're going to get mad at me. But the nurses do the dirty work.
They do.
They're the ones who get everything ready, whether it's information, situating patients, getting the supplies, everything is done by the nurses and other admin, not other admin, and admin staff. So the nurses are really boots on the ground, pardon the pun.
Right.
And the doctors kind of come in and say, what do we have here?
Right.
So,
My question would be like, so at first it was considered a domestic. Now John's in the back of the ambulance. Is he getting called in as a domestic, like i.e. the glass being thrown at him, so to speak?
right.
Now his clothes are on the ground. Michael Proctor's there taking pictures. Do those nurses notice where the clothes go, how they're wrapped up? Is he calling anybody? Karen shows up. Can they testify to her, mental state? Can they testify to the O'Keefe's mental state? Because it's all nurses that are really witnessing all that. And what were they thinking? What were they saying?
Yeah, it's so interesting. These are great questions. By the way, that was a shit ton of questions, Mike. So let me.
Sorry.
I'm only half caffeinated, but you're bringing. I'm going to answer some of them, and you're bringing up a great point, because as much of a shit show as this whole fact pattern was,
right.
The whole point of what happened from the time healthcare professionals were called in. So, the time, the 911 call to the time that John's, services were rendered to him on scene, and he was taken to the hospital and then received at the hospital, measures were taken, garments were taken off. What happened to the garments? Were they placed on a floor, etc.? That is, in my opinion, with my bias right now and my experience, one of the most important parts of the timeline. So if you don't have clean medical records that say, suspected motor vehicle accident, when you have statements that are kind of coming in, and apologies, I don't remember in all of whose testimony or in what documents it's there, but it was my understanding that Proctor and maybe Buchanan, law enforcement at some point voiced that they thought this was a fight.
A TV, yep.
Yeah. So you have that, and then you have medical records that don't note the motor vehicle accident. You have no proper, and I don't mean any criticism of the hospital, but it doesn't appear that there was any proper handling of garments that were relevant. And in my opinion, whether that was a law enforcement function or a hospital emergency department function, I don't fault the hospital in any way, because it appears to me from the evidence that the receiving staff at the hospital had no idea that the garments would have been important, because nobody told them it was some suspected fight. Maybe I said that wrong. Nobody told them that it was a motor vehicle accident, and they didn't have reason to think that clothing would have been significant at the time. So you kind of look back at all of this, and I'm sorry I kind of misspoke there. When I'm half caffeinated, I'm only half nan. But when you look at the whole fact pattern, every piece of it has a very important significance. You could break a timeline down into so many notable points. And that is why I think a lot of Karen Read supporters that I read in the chats, they all seem to agree a better timeline from the defense on 2.0 will be more meaningful. I think it would have helped Ronnie the juror as well, because when you match these timelines up, it doesn't fit.
Interesting.
Well, what's the prosecution going to say? No, they're going to say no. It's earlier or later. It's already been done. It's already been proven, right? They just need to put it up visually so that the jurors can see it.
Yeah, and one of the most important parts. Remember when Ronnie's interview came out with Aiden, and kudos to Aiden for really keeping his cool and asking great questions during that interview. But one of the most important pieces that I am perceiving this jury didn't get is that a jury must find reasonable doubt when the prosecution does not meet its case and its theory. They have to present what they believe happened and really the theory in which it did happen. And they have to commit to that. So someone who's kind of Monday morning quarterbacking this, whether you're a layperson or a lawyer, looking back to trial 1.0, from not only pre-trial motions where Lally made a bunch of assertions as to what he thinks might have happened, even going back to Meatball Morrissey's hostage video, or even Lally's opening statement, carried through all the way to trial. You had changes in times. You know, Lally was saying in the opening, this all happened around 12:45-ish, right? But then testimony came out, and then it was looking like it was narrowed down to, and I apologize, I don't have my notes, but let's say somewhere around 12:20 something, and 12:20, 12:30, and it's in that window. Then you have, you know, the prosecution saying it happened this way, but then you have pirouette Trooper Paul saying, no, you know, he got hit and then he did a pirouette and then he fell backwards and smacked his head on the hardest snow in America, and got a subdural hematoma. So a jury needs to look at that. And this first jury should have looked at that and said, wait a minute, like, what are they trying to claim happened? You can't just convict someone and really charge someone if you have no fucking idea what happened. And
why didn't they charge Higgins? They had more probable cause to charge Higgins than anyone else. That's the waterfall video. That's all they, at that point, that's all they knew.
I agree with you. He had something also that the prosecution never has to prove in a murder case, which is motive. So think about the motive that the Commonwealth sought to have this jury believe was Karen's reason for killing John, like the whole Aruba incident, and she's jealous, etc., which was going nowhere. But think about Higgins. Had they explored, you know, back in the investigation phase, had they explored the fact that, okay, they had some type of text communication, there was some type of back and forth of a playful nature, whatever it was, they never really dug in the investigation to even find more out about it. They could have asked Karen, who had a right to remain silent because she had already been arrested, but they could have asked Karen, would you like, even with your attorney, to answer some questions about Kevin Higgins? They also had Higgins' very handpicked, curated texts that he so, you know, altruistically chose of his own kind heart to cherry pick with his buddy at the federal kiosk in the Canton PD. Like that, just the fact that he cherry picked his own text exchange because he knew it was going to bury him because of motive.
Then he destroyed the stupid SIM card on top of it. Talk about guilt.
Yeah. And it's the fact that he destroyed the SIM card, threw his phone out on one or two, I don't know what it was, military bases. Who the hell throws garbage out that way? But anyway, you've got him doing that. You then have Brian Albert, who also, and I don't remember what he testified he did, but he destroyed his phone as well. I'll use the word destroyed in air quotes. When you think about that, that came on the wake of news that there was going to be a subpoena for their phone records or their phones. Too many coincidences. I've lost patience on the coincidences. And that's what 2.0, in my opinion, the defense really needs to focus on that kind of stuff. Reasonable doubt, the sheer number of coincidences, the inconsistent testimonies, the how many butt dials can one set of McAlberts make amongst each other, law enforcement, you know, taking no measures to conduct a proper investigation, law enforcement having communications with fact witnesses that are questionable and likely violated protocols. Like the list goes on. And that's why I sunk my teeth into this case pretty much from roughly a little bit before Aiden really broke the story. And I'm not going to let it go. It's like a dog with a bone.
Good. That's awesome. So if there's one witness Let's talk about like Kerry Roberts, maybe that was never cross-examined. Knowing what we know now, I think she spends a little bit more time on the stand than she did last time.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. I was saying to, I think it might have been the Glare the other day. I said she needs to be cross-examined. And I understand her testimony on on direct
Yeah.
in 1.1.0 wasn't terribly harmful,
No.
but she needs to be crossed. And also, I'm not much of a rumor spinner because I have no substantiation for this, but
Yeah.
it sure sounds to me, if I'm listening, if I'm picking up what Aiden's putting down, he's planning on breaking some story about her shortly before trial. Who knows what it is?
Right.
But if it's as juicy as the, Paul glazed
It could
donut
be
story,
anything. Right.
then something might pop up where she needs to be crossed. And by the way, crossing witnesses who are pretty helpful, like
Right.
Kerry's testimony wasn't that bad.
No.
Sometimes you have to give a rigorous cross to someone whose original direct testimony isn't that bad for you.
Right.
So
Yep.
We'll see.
Interesting.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
All right, pal.
Yeah.
So I was also thinking about Barrows.
God.
I think more cross on him should be examined. I mean, it almost seemed to me like he was sitting up there like, come on, give me some more. I'll tell you anything you want to know. Right? Did you see that as well?
Yeah, you're a really good read of people, Mike, because I felt the same way. Barrows, and who knows what he really thinks or all he was willing to say. Maybe it was just as much as he did say on the stand.
Okay.
But he sure seems to me that he was willing to even answer more questions.
Okay.
And I go back to what I said before about, you got to be careful if you don't know the answer, right?
Yeah.
But out of all of the law enforcement officers who testified, kudos to him, because he sure seems to be the most honorable one who's willing to just kind of call it like he sees it. And he indicated, I don't remember his exact words, but it was cracked.
Exactly.
And there is no way we could all get out our Webster's dictionary or look at pictures online. There is no way that a cracked taillight is a completely exploded, pulverized one, which I actually think was the word Karen used when they kind of recorded one of her statements to the officers. She said, I forget, it was like Brian and someone were getting in a fight and my taillight is pulverized. It doesn't correlate. So I think they should prod a little bit more with Officer Barrows. And I also would hope, sorry, Mike, I would also hope that they explore a little bit more about the toe. Like, I want to know, like, did you take pictures? Even not for any investigative reasons, but, tow truck drivers, from my experience,
yes,
they always take pictures. And think about when you rent a car, like they do a walk around.
Oh yeah.
Something's not adding up there just from, when you factor in the fact that there's inverted videos and there is, and missing segments of video, like when she allegedly would have driven by the library. There's too many missing pieces of evidence that would reflect and depict her taillight. So Barrows is really critical. I hope my read and yours of where he's going is something that we can keep a lot of faith in.
I would be like, Mr. Barrows, did it look like this or did it look like this? Which one depicts more of what you saw that day? Well, obviously the cracked one, not the one that's completely demolished. That in itself would be damning. Now, all you need is reasonable doubt to not convict. I don't know if these jurors understood. Like, if I'm even wavering, thinking about it's over. You can't in your mind try to convict somebody. You've already made up your mind subconsciously. Like, okay, I've heard everything. There's no way this ever happened. But then have to have somebody in a jury room say, now, they were drunk. They were both there. We got to give them something. Is bullshit to me.
I completely agree with you. And I know a lot of people talk about reasonable doubt, and it needs to be a central figure in 2.0
Thank
from
you.
beginning to end.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if Alan Jackson walked into your office right now, he would tell you the same thing. But there was, just from listening to Ronnie, the juror, there was a complete non-understanding, not just a misunderstanding. There was no understanding of what reasonable doubt was. None. And as someone who's given closing arguments for a criminal defendant many times in my career, I can tell you, like, there's people think they know what it is. I guess I would say juries think, even everybody in a community thinks they understand what the term reasonable doubt is. It's almost like part of our parlance, right? It's our vocabulary.
Right.
But not even just putting the definition up there, but really giving examples of what it is and making sure they understand it from the beginning of the case all the way through to the end.
So I would say reasonable doubt so if you're showing you're crossing a witness or you're showing an exhibit, people, that right there is reasonable doubt. If you can't make this work in your mind, this is reasonable doubt. And just move on and do it again. And do it again.
Well, what we have, you're right. But what we have, Mike, also is the Bev variable, which, like,
I know.
It's so
have you ever in all your life, all your career, I should say, maybe you have, you don't have to say anything, but she's tough.
Once I had a judge like her.
Was it personal, you think?
I do in that case. I think it was personal.
Right.
But other judges are tough. Don't get me wrong. And
by the law definition, tough, right?
Yeah,
they're asking you the right. They're asking you the right question. Just give me a better definition of what you just said, then, right?
Right. And like I was before one judge in my career, and it was maddening to deal with him because it was illogical. And that's how I feel remotely about Bev.
Yep.
Because even the defense has no idea right now, like, what they're going to be able to get away with. And now I have no reason to know this other than I suspect it. But now that we had this hiccup over the last week with the whole ARCA and when was a bill and who paid it, and the BS suspension of the hearing last week, and then the 5-something hour hearing this week about it. First, I'm predicting that AJ is not going to be kicked off the team, and I'm also predicting that ARCA will be able to testify.
Okay.
There may be different levels of disclosure about how that's presented to a jury.
Are you saying like the word FBI or feds or hired by, or those same words you're talking about? Or
yeah, a little bit. Like, I still don't think Bev's going to let any mention of federal law enforcement or federal investigation in.
Grand jury. Remember the grand jury was not allowed. Federal grand jury. You stated in one jury, grand jury, but then you had another grand jury. Like, if I'm a juror, I'm like, okay, so there's three times you were questioned, your police statement, state and federal. I got reasonable doubt going in my head right now. Why are you going through all three?
Yes. Yeah. So I never understood why she was allowing federal grand jury to come in, but not FBI or any federal investigation. I don't understand that, but I may have missed one argument before trial. I have no idea. I would say I follow 99% of everything, right? But with that said, the second trial for 2.0, I think Bev is going to keep AJ. I think she's going to allow ARCA to testify. I think she may require the defense not to mention that, you weren't hired by us. Like, I think the defense is going to be a little limited in how they independently paint ARCA to the jury. Doesn't mean they're going to be allowed to say FBI, but I think she may kind of issue a remedy and say, you can't tell this jury that no money changed hands. Like, you got to make it very clear that while you didn't initially engage them, you have since compensated them.
But since trial 1, the crash daddies didn't even come into play with the juries.
Oh, I agree. I like how you say crash daddies. We gotta have Joe Flipperhead. We gotta have Joe Flipperhead clip that. But you're absolutely right.
He will. Don't do
I know
that.
he will. I know.
He was on the other day. He's a funny guy. He's a funny dude. But
I would love to. Is he local?
no, he's from Philly. He's from Philly.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, he's from Philly. He's a good guy.
Well, Joe Flipperhead, if you're watching, I thank you and others for protecting me on Twitter, because it's like,
oh yeah, he doesn't like people that go after people. He's brutal. He's good. He eviscerates people with facts. Like nothing. Like, he doesn't shame anybody. Like I'll make fun of somebody in a video, but he'll actually just present facts about their comment or what they're trying to get across. And that's what I like about Joe. He's been real. We've been friends for a while now, and I've never even met the guy. He's just
I love him very much from afar. He's very protective. Larry Legend is protective. You've been protective of me.
Yeah.
I've seen Tom protect me, and I can sorry to take away from the substance of your show, but I really just want, and it sounds like someone is saying, Tom, you're muted, just so you're aware.
Yeah.
Tom, you're muted, just so you're aware, honey. Okay. So I get to call Tom honey because I've known him now for an hour. But I just did want to mention, thank you everyone who protects me, because I feel like you're all my family, and I hope to get up to Massachusetts one of these days to
I hope so too.
Stand outside of the courthouse.
Listen, wait till it gets warmer. It's so freaking cold.
I was in the green room. I was in the green room when you and Tom were talking, so I hope you can make it up soon too.
I hope so.
Hopefully in April, when it starts in April, you make it up here when it's nice and warm.
Yeah, when it's nice and warm, it's definitely one of those things that I have such a busy calendar. I'd love to do a standout. I'd love to and also, maybe one of these days I'll stand outside of the courthouse, which I don't know if you guys would consider a standout, but I love hanging outside courthouses. I do it. I do it all the time.
It seems to be a hobby lately.
Tom will be there. Can I just get a little feedback about what you think is going to happen on March 5th with the federal habeas?
Yeah. Oh, before I forget though, on that note, it sounds like from an outsider, Wednesday is going to be a big day. If I understand it correctly, let me say it this way.
Yeah.
It sounds like next week, Tuesday, you're in court. Oh, not you guys, but in court. Karen's in court with her team before Judge Bev on Tuesday. Then there's Wednesday, which is the bigger day, I guess one might say, where she's before the federal court on her habeas petition with Marty Weinberg.
Correct.
And then after that, and my understanding of what they told Judge Bev the other day was, we'll come to your courthouse right after we're done in federal court, which the Norfolk Superior Court or the Dedham Courthouse, whatever the name of the building is. And she said, yes, do that. So I don't even think there's an official start time at the federal, at the state court.
On the 5th.
On the 5th.
Right.
So as far as Wednesday is concerned, I will say that
that's a busy day.
It's a busy day. It's going to. What was that, Tom?
Aiden's got a court case also.
That's right.
On top of it all.
Aiden at 2 o'clock.
At 2 o'clock, that's right.
And I don't understand the geographics, but I think his is, I don't know if his is in the same building or in the building across the street, but it's
there.
A lot of stuff happening.
It's right across the street. Not far.
It's like the Oscars of court that day. It's like the red carpet will be out, and
we need to get a red carpet.
I feel like I gotta say it like a Massachusetts red carpet, a red carpet. Yeah.
A red carpet. So I have 9 a.m. on the 4th for Auntie Bev. The 5th is the federal. We don't know the determined time. It could be a 9 a.m. start with her and this Yanetti and whoever's Jackson maybe coming in later on. But I don't know where actually Karen will be. Will she be in the federal court or will she be in? She will be at the federal. And then I have something for the 6th, all reciprocal discovery completed. I don't know what that means. And on the 7th, there's a final pretrial hearing, motions limine. But I don't know if they move those dates around to to help out with the federal filing and stuff.
Mike,
Now,
I need you to be my secretary because I thank you for telling me all of those dates. That really is a big help. But
well,
that
yeah,
is
no
a
problem.
huge week. So for your audience, think of it Monday, Wednesday, Friday are big days in court for Karen Reed in the Dedham courthouse, whatever it's called, Judge Bev Court. And then also Wednesday is a federal court in the morning. That'll start at 9. That will start at 9. I just don't know where Judge Bev's court, where she's going to convene her own court. She probably would wait. Very common, guys, for the state courts to wait until the attorneys come back from a federal argument,
because it could be mute.
Yeah, and I'm going to give unsolicited advice here to Free Karen Reed supporters, just so you take it for what it's worth. Having done a lot of federal arguments in my day, I would never equate federal court to be anything like a state court. So in terms of standing out, boots on the ground, showing support at the federal court level, that is frowned upon by federal courts. Am I speaking with personal knowledge of how it would work up in Boston? I'm not, but I would just give you guys a little bit of unsolicited guidance there that it's much different. It's a much more hallowed ground.
Gotcha.
And the arguments that are being made on the habeas petition, which gets back to your question, Mike, are really notable and significant. And, so for what it's worth, I wouldn't, if I were standing boots on the ground, I wouldn't park myself outside of the federal courthouse.
Is 700 pages common for federal habeas?
Yes, but
okay, all right.
But I think the argument was 40. I think the rest are exhibits.
Just case law. Okay.
To back up.
It's all of the attachments of everything that she is putting into her argument. But this is really significant arguments she's making concerning the jury's verdicts. And if anyone really wants a good short breakdown of the arguments, and I don't know what the opposition says yet. I haven't read it. But the arguments that she raises through Marty Weinberg, you should look at Brother Counsel's stream. He does a nice 20 minute break.
So good. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So her arguments are very good. And these are very important constitutional issues because, as you all know, wait, hold on. I see Nick Knack in the chat. I am 50% matching super chats.
Half. I'm not going to put a bankrupt today. No. We're doing half.
Mom.
Yeah, I've been hearing that you're bankrupting your family.
I am. I'm bankrupting my family.
Listen, I lost my family. Everyone's gone.
I guess I see it like this: people who've never had money, well, I don't understand what we're doing. If you have money, it's pretty easy. It's not that hard to do. But I don't want to sound facetious and be like, you don't have enough, whatever. But it's not that lot of money.
People need to understand that just watching the stream helps. Getting the word out helps because you could possibly talk to someone that could help.
That's money.
And that's the thing, though, watching the stream, which I'm very, that's where most of my experience has come from over 2 years. But sitting in these, the streams and the chats for me has been the most informative, and supporting the creators. To me, maybe this is my mindset. In my mind, I'm like, if I can do a little something to help, take an edge off, give you a lift up or support, or to make you feel good about what you're doing, and that people are really listening and it's resonating beyond all that you're already hearing about it, I'm sure. I do it.
Yeah.
I want to say something now that you just brought it up about the content creators, okay?
Yeah.
From New Jersey, where you're at, seeing everything that you've seen, your vast experience.
Your vast experience. Ooh.
She's got a lot of it.
What does your T-shirt say?
It says, it says, I'm fine It's fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. I have
There's
to
a
go to a
glare.
hearing later, but I wasn't going to show up this morning in a suit.
You can, you know. You
I don't
can.
think enough. I'm trying to say I don't think enough can be said about the talent that the content creators bring to the table to help Karen, because like Auntie Bev will make fun of somebody, but there's a fact in there, like there's like legitimate question. So I mean, if by chance Karen watches it, maybe she laughs, but I mean, we're kind of giving her a lot of work. Look at this, look at that. Everybody in the audience, even the chat, it's like a combined team effort. I've never seen nothing like it. And I keep trying to explain it, but there's so much talent and we're all working to free this
Tom.
girl. We don't even know her.
Tom, I couldn't agree more. And if anyone really wants to see like the most raw, candid opinions I have on the content creators, I would encourage you to watch the first time I was a guest on any stream. And it was with the Young Jerks, Mike Crawford, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I had an opportunity to just express how much the different content creators mean to me and how they all add a little piece to it's like an ingredient where you all make soup. You know, everyone should think back, and maybe you guys have never seen it, but if anyone or your kids have ever seen the movie Ratatouille, where Remy the rat is putting together the soup and he's just throwing the ingredients into the pot and it whips up this beautiful soup that's like amazing and everyone loves it. And the whole point of that, and as a metaphor here, is all of the different content creators whom I follow add something different. Like I said to you both, you guys are like Sports Center for me. But then you have people like, you know, Mike Crawford. He has these wonderful interviews that with a very with a style that is very reminiscent to me of almost like and I mean this as a compliment, Mike, if you're listening, like almost like old school radio, like he's that feel to it.
Yep.
Which I used to listen to every day with my father. And I love that because that's how I digest information. LTL, you know, I'm a big fan of Brian, or BLT, whatever we're calling him nowadays. I've been following Brian for a very long time on a number of different cases. Nurse Kim, love her. Brit Happens, Calling All Beings, and also the Glare, who I make no secret about it, is out of all of the different personalities, like the closest to mine. I do curse like a sailor. You're going to clip that again.
You guys have chemistry. We'll leave it at that. You guys are good to
Yeah. He calls you out. He just calls you right out. He's like, stop it.
He's like,
just
stop
it.
Stop it. By the way, like the little clip, which his vignette that he plays when I end up on his show that Joe Flipper had made, like makes me roll. If anyone hasn't heard Auntie Deb's, which Auntie Deb made last night for me, that's worth a watch. But as far as Joe Flipper, by the way, Auntie Deb made last night's, but the one that Joe Flipper had made for Will, there's even like a smaller clip of it now on X about how I obviously, with my more recent hairstyle, resemble a certain
with the bracelet. And see how with the triangle. Yes, I was dying laughing with that one. There it is. I want it on our show.
It's Morse. Pardon the Jersey nails. It's Morse code for fuck off.
Nice.
Have a morning fuck off from seeking justice.
Yeah. Yes.
Double that.
I'm counting it now.
I will allow that.
And by the way, I'm seeing someone mention James Jackson in the chat, and I don't know if he's in because I don't have.
Here.
I love JFK. I love James Jackson. I love all of you. I know I'm missing people, but you all had something.
But we have all this talent, all these people, right?
I know.
And we're all trying to free this lady that we don't even know. Is that just next level? Like this needs to go bigger. Like, how do we get this bigger?
I know.
Like national.
I know.
What do you think, Mike?
Oh, I know how to get this to go. Turtle Boy said it last night on the Young Jerks. If Bev throws AJ off, it'll go viral.
Yeah.
It will explode.
And what if this goes to the Supreme Court, like
Oh,
the
that's-
United
well, that-
States
yeah.
Supreme Court? What if we
That-
have people go down there and protest? That would make
That-
maybe national news.
Yeah, but
Go to Washington.
Yes.
Yeah.
so remember what I said before about like who the hell knows what this judge is going to do? It's the
Right.
netherworld, okay?
Right.
But
Yep.
I'm predicting if it were in
Yes.
any other jurisdiction, he's not getting kicked off and Arca's testifying. But let's assume, because we're not crazy, we've seen how she rules.
Yep.
Let's assume she kicked him off, which again, no one panic. I don't think that's happening.
Right.
If she did that, then there would be an
Explosion.
immediate right to an appeal at
Appeal.
federal level, because
Yeah.
that is a violation or an alleged violation of Karen's constitutional right to an
Yes.
attorney of her
Right.
choice.
Right.
Correct.
And that I didn't hear Aiden say that because, to be honest, I was really fucking tired last night and fell asleep. I was watching Mike and the Young
Yeah.
Jerks, but I
Yeah.
passed out.
I hear
But
you.
he's right. Aiden's right. That would get news attention. But I will be perfectly blunt. The best way to get more people looking at this case, it's not me. It's not seeking justice. It's
Mm-mm.
not any of the content creators. We all, and I'm not one of you. You all do a lot. It's having, in my opinion, mainstream media actually whip out their culiones and stand up and be able to report fair and balanced news instead of subscribing to one side's or the more palatable societal side of how this story reads. I think if mainstream media and use the Law and Crime channel, the Court TV, the Datelines, the 48 Hours, pick any mainstream channel and say, if you would simply be more balanced in how you present this evidence and have commentators on, and I am in no way, shape, or form casting shade on like someone like Nick Rocco versus Krowski and Plevin.
I bet
He
Nick
holds his
anyway,
own.
yeah.
But my point is like getting an even more balanced and more public conversation going on about how this is not something that this should never happen. It is not enough to have charged her, and frankly, not enough to convict her. And mainstream media has to step up. If they start doing that, and not only the channels, but the news outfits, like everyone should peruse again. I think her name is Julie Walker, the Vanity Fair author who, yes, were we happy to read the Vanity Fair article about Karen? We were. Not because it was well written and Karen had a voice in it. We were also happy to read it because it was like the only fucking one that told a little bit more of her side of the story. That's why we're gravitating also towards what Ted Daniel put out since the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's just more balanced. So that was a long-winded answer for you both. But everyone has to do their part. I'm really still considering myself a spectator to all of this, but
see, you're not, and that's where things are different, right? Like what you bring is experience and knowledge in some way that's going to help Karen Reed. Don't know how, but it will get to her and it will help her in a way. So, we do need people just like you to come on in and we'll welcome you. The community will welcome you because you're here to help Karen. And what does it say that all these attorneys are doing this for no money? What's that say to you?
Very telling. And not only no money, and I've said this on some other streams, when a lawyer does pro bono work, not only are they giving of their time for free, they are not doing other billable work. Right. So they are, putting their other clients aside. So think of just Alessi as the example. Alessi went up last week for February 18th, sat through a day or not a day, sat through arguments, and then she suspended the hearing where in retrospect, she didn't need to do that. Then he had to leave. Then he comes back up and then spent almost the whole day arguing before her. That means with his travel to and from, with his time spent probably meeting with Karen and the team,
I'm
his
sure.
arguments,
Yep.
the meals, lodging, travel, all of that. And the fact that he's not doing other billable work, it's a huge albatross for any lawyer to carry. So I admire him extremely, and others, who are giving pro bono time for her defense. And more lawyers, from what I'm seeing on YouTube and Twitter, more of them are speaking up now. Just kind of sift through it. I'm seeing more lawyers speak up. So
And when the trial comes, it'll get even bigger.
It will get bigger. You're all gonna you probably, and I don't know this, but you probably saw an uptick in it as trial 1.0 heated up. I was just watching when I was watching all of you leading up to 1.0. I wasn't looking and saying, "Oh my God, how many views did this channel?"
We were all focused on what was happening, to be honest, because we were blown away.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And as 2.0. The main difference between second trial and first trial for me, besides the gloves being off, for the second trial, more people are aware. More people know. There have been, and there will be, more publications. There's the docu-series coming out in the latter part of March on, I think it's Investigation Discovery.
Yeah, ID.
There's been more lawyers speaking up from my experience or observation in saying this is complete crap. You have now also, if you recall, before 1.0, you had lawyers on the fence intentionally. So people like Emily Baker,
right?
Peter
they weren't making a decision. I specifically remember Emily saying, "Nope, I don't know. Nope, keeping the neutral.
Right?
Don't know nothing."
They went in intentionally with blinders on and soaked it in. Both of them are former prosecutors, and they allowed, and I think I might be missing someone in this list, but they allowed the evidence.
Runkle.
Well, yes, Runkle was not
people.
A prosecutor, I don't believe, formerly, but Runkle too, as I understand it, went into the first trial more neutral. And then, you start hearing about solo cups and leaf blowers and butt dials and deleted texts. And
right there.
It belies logic, guys.
Right.
So,
there's reasonable doubt. Here's my reasonable doubt.
Right.
You can't tell me that Celebrate tells me you made a phone call for 9 seconds and you answered it with your ass.
Yeah.
Stop it.
No.
Stop it. And does anyone believe that that Brian Albert was getting down to it with Nicole?
Right.
And he answers his phone.
Hold on. That's magical, first of all.
Well, and it's like, and kudos to Alan. And by the way, I apologize if I'm dragging your show later than you would normally end, but
I just need more coffee. That's it.
Don't worry about us.
Kudos to Alan. Like, Alan had to try to tell a story to the jury. Just think about the phone calls. Okay. As a lawyer has to get from that witness. So whether it was Brian Albert, Higgins, or who I'm going to say cutely refer to as Kevin Higgins. I understand it's Brian Higgins, so show grace. But Higgins, Brian Albert, McCabe, when he's asking them questions about, well, when did you make this phone call? And then, but you understand it would have either gone to voicemail or this person would have answered it, right? And to answer it, it would have had to be hung up, right? And you did that X number of times, right? That's actually really difficult to question a witness about, especially a witness who's hostile to you.
Right.
So, and many times juries their eyes are glazed over. Like, they're like, what is he asking me about?
Yep.
I would be like a mathematician and be like, the odds of being able to do that with Mr. Higgins and Mr. Albert, not just once, but twice maybe.
Right.
The odds of answering, then closing your phone and not leaving a voicemail with your ass. The mathematics, stats of this happening are like winning Powerball twice in a week. Okay, people. That's how you can dumb it down. That's
I'm under the impression that they both had 2 cell phones. That's what I think. Brian
So
had
yeah,
a work
so they're
phone,
both, so they're both
and
assholes.
he had a work phone in
Yes.
his private phone. So I don't know if they got both. I don't know.
It's really, I'm sure the defense knows. I think they both had two phones. It is important for someone to know that. I imagine both sides know. I mean, but most
Yeah.
importantly, the defense.
Right.
I'm interested to see more and learn more about this 1:30 a.m. phone call with Higgy.
Oh, at the Canton. Yes.
So
Yeah,
I'm
and-
curious because the person who would possibly be on the other end is his best friend, because they were the Three Musketeers, right? So
Yeah.
if you're out on a medical leave, and I'm not talking about Carl Dougal because he's up and down the stairs doing fine. If you're out on medical, how do you reinstate yourself and come back into a case?
Who
How
was
does
out?
that happen?
Who was out on medical, Tom?
Chief Berkowitz.
Oh, Chief. Okay.
Chief Berkowitz was out on medical, and
Yeah.
then he's involved in the investigation.
Yeah.
Now,
so,
I
go
think
ahead.
he had to find. People are saying about the taillight. I think he had to find the taillight so that he would be included because he already was included.
Yes, that
You see
was
what I'm
my
saying?
theory too.
'Cause
Yeah.
he's blind. He was blind as a bat. He couldn't see taillight. He couldn't see a car.
But yet he finds a salad plate size piece of taillight.
Yeah.
What was it, like 2 weeks after the incident?
Czechoslovakia. Yeah.
There's no, by the way, I agree with your theory, Tom. And think about this, and you may have also thought of this. Imagine for a moment, suspend your level of reality. You're Brian Albert.
Okay.
You're another decorated dude with your level of experience. You live at 34 Fairview Road. There was an officer who was presumably, the story is he was hit by Karen Reed's vehicle out in front of the house. Okay. And the officer died. There is an investigation. It's then trending towards she did it. She gets arrested. All of that. Think about that piece of the timeline, and even up to the time, for example, when Berkowitz found the addition and among others, a piece of taillight days and days and days later. If you were Brian Albert, wouldn't you be out on your fucking lawn and in your street and on your sidewalk and in your shrubs and by your flagpole and whatever structures are out there, looking day to day to day to day, even as the snow melted, even as things, quote, revealed themselves? You would be out there trying to find more because it's your property. So I have no evidence that he did that.
Just do you know what he did for work?
So I heard he was a detective. I heard he helped bust the Boston Strangler. He got the Craig's or participated.
He picked up the water bottle. That's all he did.
Is it?
Yeah, he picked up the water bottle and sent it for DNA testing, and it matched. And he knew who the guy was.
Okay.
That's the Boston Strangler connection. He
Interesting.
wasn't like deep into it looking. No.
Oh yeah, I'm only
it was a
hearing
bottle the guy threw in the trash. He wouldn't pick the bottle up.
That's it. But what did he do for the Craigslist killer? Did I hear something about that?
I think he was part of the team that looked at the digital data.
Okay.
They were using one site. They were using Craigslist, so they were looking to see making connections from there.
But you know what, guys? Like, even so, whether he's really good at what he does or even just your average detective or whatever level he was, this doesn't require anything more than common sense to know that if someone, it could have been your front lawn, Tom, or yours, Mike. Like if you
would
had
prove Karen did it, why would you not be out there looking for every single piece?
Right.
Really?
And wouldn't you be,
look at she did it. This is here, you know. No,
and wouldn't
none
you
of
be
that.
telling your wives, like who some of whom are siblings, etc., wouldn't you be telling them, like, don't be talking to law enforcement, don't be going with this one over to Lank's house, don't be doing this or doing that? Wouldn't you tell them no texting or find some other kind of encrypted method of text exchange? Like he's an idiot. I say Brennan is an idiot. I think Brian Albert is an idiot as well. And that, in my opinion, if this kind of post arrest, post-trial, moving to trial 2.0, investigation continues. And in listening to Karen talk to Ted Daniel, it continues the investigation every single day.
Oh,
If this investigation continues, am I confident that Brian Albert and others are going to get busted? Maybe if the feds continue to do their due diligence, I think the investigation is ongoing, by the way. That's a load of bullshit.
That was my next question. About the
It is. But if I were Brian Albert, I'd be like, okay, I'm eventually going to get caught up in this. Something's going to happen, whether they're going to find a piece with an aha moment that shows that I had a role in this, or that Higgins did and I derivatively as Albert had a role in this, or that Jen McCabe had a role in it, and it all connects them. And I'm not saying that this whole conspiracy is like very expansive. Like everyone thinks, well, you'll have to believe that 13 or 15 people are all conspiring. No, I don't.
No.
It's a small knit community, a small knit group, and it becomes almost like the telephone game. Like, oh, he never came in the house. Oh, I never saw him. And that's all you need to know. Then you throw people in like the Julie Nagels who, suddenly out of nowhere see blobs or whatever the word she used in the snow after not reporting it to anybody, even though it made every headline up there that there was an officer found dead.
After drinking all day, she said that, by the way.
And she was interviewed for 18 months after the fact or 12 months after the fact.
Right.
She may have seen a blob or something.
I mean,
yeah, like seriously. And I don't know how old she was at the time, but if I were to track it, I'd say she was probably anywhere from like 21 to 23 years old, something like that, 25,
right.
In her early 20s, on the bright side of 20.
Okay.
There's no way that her parents, I don't know her family situation, but let's assume her parental units didn't say to her, well, did you see anything? What happened? People in her life that were unaffiliated with this incident would have questioned her, like, did you see anything? Did you notice anything? And she would have said no. Now, can you prove that, Mike or Tom? You can't prove it because you can't, it's all hearsay, and who knows everyone she talked to. But that's the kind of shit that really bothers someone like me, because I know I have a very limited way as a lawyer to get evidence before a jury. So the investigation does continue with Karen's team and her investigator. To your question, Tom, I believe wholeheartedly, based on 25 years of not only criminal defense experience, but dealing with federal criminal agencies, whether it's the FBI, the Department of Justice, there's all different criminal defense agencies that I have to deal with for my clients. They don't tell you when investigations are closed. And I'll go one step further. When my clients are investigated by federal criminal investigating bodies, and, we cooperate, or we know they're going on, and we just, pray that it doesn't blow up in my client, against my client, I make every one of my clients put in writing to me when they say, Nan, you got to follow up. I need closure. I need to know if this investigation is closed. And I say, I am not writing the FBI. I am not writing the DOJ. I am not writing that agency, because I don't want this dormant investigation, if it is dormant, to get dusted off.
What's this? Oh, yeah. Hey, whatever happened to this? And
federal and state agencies that have this kind of criminal investigative piece, they are very vindictive in my experience. So if I send a letter inquiring as to the status of investigations with like the feds, for example, I've had it happen more than once in my earlier career where they actually get mad and they say, oh, well, you haven't heard from us for a year. Here's these subpoenas, or here's that, like almost like, by the way. So, but in addition to that, so I make my clients put in writing to me, because I tell them I'm not following up, and you'll probably never hear one way or the other. So only a few have said, I need the closure. I am sending you this letter or email that says you must follow up. And each of those times it's blown up in their face.
Oh,
But
shit.
every time the feds have closed investigations, we never have heard about it.
That's right.
So I call bullshit with a capital BS and
Mhm.
several exclamation points. I have nothing but nice things to say about Ted Daniel, but I question the veracity of his sources, as you guys say up there.
Me and Mike know Ted from up here, right? And Ted's a personable guy, and I've interviewed him, and I like Ted. And I said something to him the other day. Now he's just doing his job, and I'll tell you that there's a guy. I think it's maybe Court TV. They sit there and they read exactly what the editors write them.
Right.
So the guy who you'll see on TV, he's just a reader. He's a great personality, but it's not his opinion at all.
He's
So
a vessel.
I think what Ted did is he got fed this. Here's a lead. You got to follow it up, and he's got to write something because he knows Christina Rex is going to get on it too, right? He wants to be first out of the block with it.
It's interesting though. Aiden brought up a couple good points on that, Tom, because Aiden was saying, I think it was Aiden. Aiden said, like, well, are Christina Rex's two sources the same as Ted Daniel's two sources, or now are there four sources?
Right.
I do agree with you. I think, the people on, let's use Court TV, for example, or even in this instance, perhaps Ted Daniel of Boston 25, like they're just conduits, vessels of, okay, this is what our position is going to be. You got to get it out there. It is in that regard that I could never be a mainstream media reporter. I couldn't do it. I have too much chutzpah, as my late mother would say, to kind of say, I'm going to pass along your message to this audience. Like, I rather give my own message. I really just want to reemphasize that I think we agree. Like, Ted Daniel is good people.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot from what I'm observing from afar to kind of buck the system that you kind of described there a little bit.
Yep.
So time will tell, but I think it's wishful thinking on the part of probably Morrissey, who I have nothing nice to say about. And the Commonwealth in general, the prosecutorial arm of the Commonwealth probably got this out there. I mean, ask yourselves, like, why is Jill Daniels and Plevin barking about this over the weekend before these sources came out? No way. Like, does anyone think Jill Daniels and Kevin Lenahan are like the absolute ground zero of accurate news reporting?
Yeah,
so,
zero. It's about
yeah.
right.
Well, another great interview that was never aired, but Tom was able to catch and they had the cameras in their face, was Mr. Reed talking about how we need to be a purple state, a two-party state.
The news didn't show that?
No.
Oh, that was,
No.
oh my God. See,
And
we missed that. I know what you're talking about. I was there, but I didn't know the news didn't show that.
No, didn't show it. So someone on X showed it.
Interesting. See, this is why X is like for the cesspool that it is. It's
Elon. Hey, you want free speech? You have free speech, right?
Well, you know what? If it's free speech, then I want my buddy Will the Glarer back on Twitter, because
I know.
Yeah.
I miss Will. I would write. I actually emailed Elon. I know it didn't go anywhere, but whatever. I did it for Will.
But I know I've dropped some curses during your stream today, but I will say this: like, I knowing what I've been informed was the basis for him being removed from X. I am puzzled because there is someone on X whose handle and description of his page is the exact verbiage that Will used, which it was kicked off of X for. So
the idiots, they mass report things. So that's what happens. They just mass report it and they just keep doing it.
And by the way, since I've been very in a brief time period on, kicked up on Twitter or on Facebook, which, more notably or noticeably, I get the trolls who are trying to report my tweets. Maybe they're doing it to you as well. I got like 2 copyrights alleged copyright strikes on Facebook yesterday, and I'm like, I didn't post a damn thing
Yeah.
that could in any way invoke a copyright concern.
But they
So
mass report it. And so
yeah,
Facebook's algorithm picks it up and just,
spits it out.
it's ridiculous.
Well, I love following both of you on social media, so keep it up.
I will. Hey, listen, I gotta feed my dogs.
Yeah,
all
but
right?
Oh, yeah, go.
We're gonna
But-
bail anyway.
Yeah.
Before you leave, Mike, and to both of you, somebody just let me know at some point how much the super chats were today, and I'll make a donation. You don't have to let me know today. I don't know.
Well, girl, my mods are on it. Mark,
We want to bankrupt the
got that.
family.
no, we got this.
Yeah, I'm either that or I might have to end up, in
Destitute or something, man.
Right.
Opening
I gotta
your own can of-
find your. They don't even make cardboard boxes anymore. They come in bags now. You can't
you
live in
guys
a
are
box.
the best. But
Hey,
Mike,
man.
go feed
Listen,
your dogs, Mike. It was a
I
pleasure
will.
meeting you.
Can we get you back in sometime?
Oh, absolutely. I
All
love
right.
love it.
Are you a morning person?
I am a morning
I
person.
can tell. I can tell.
Maybe
I like
we'll
that.
get Joe Flipperhead up with you.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Like
That'd be great,
you
huh?
and
Maybe we'll
Joe?
work on something like that.
Joe's
He's
listening,
a
right?
busy guy, though. Flip's busy.
wait,
let's
Flip,
see.
if Flipperhead is listening, I have one of my favorite songs. I gotta say this, Tom. Mike's like, I gotta go feed my goddamn
No,
dog.
I gotta hear
Dogs,
this.
the dogs are waiting.
Flipperhead, one of my favorite songs, and nobody judge me, is House of Memories by Panic at the Disco. I love it.
Yeah.
And if you whip me up a little song or a little video to it, I will make it worth your while. I don't know how I will do that, and it will be completely legally
Figure it out.
appropriate.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan. And Mike,
All
it
right.
was a great pleasure to meet you.
Yes, you as well, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Yeah,
I
hopefully I'll
enjoy-
get up to Boston one of these days.
Yeah, maybe in April. Yeah. What's your before you go? Do you think it's going to start April 1st?
I do not, but
Okay, that's another story for another time. But
Only a
that's
month.
good
It's just
feedback.
about a month away, Mike. It's not that far away. Remember we were talking?
know.
Boom. February's
I know.
almost over.
I
if
think
it
it's-
starts in April, I plan to come up sometime in April.
All right. Talk to you then.
Meet soon.
Cool.
Talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Michael,
Bye.
talk to you. Nan, listen again. I can't thank you enough for being here and
Thanks, Tom.
and helping out all these content creators, because I see, and I don't know if everyone could see it, but I see all this talent all being funneled to help Karen, and you're part of that. Whether you like it or not, you're part of it. And
It's very
when-
brief.
and just want to explain the Bedro comment.
Oh,
Bedro was great. He would come on after court and he would say, okay, everyone's all hyper because we're hearing this, hearing that. We don't know. 'cause we're
frenetic.
not in
Yeah.
it. So he'd come on and he would say, this is what happened. This is maybe kind of how I see it. This might be an out, but he gave us that recap, we'll say.
Recap and like confidence too. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. So because he's signing on with Karen, which we're all thrilled about. I mean, she should have got you a long time ago. Maybe she can't afford you, but
Oh,
the talent, right? All these people are just trying to help Karen, right? And you're part of that. So when Bedro gets up there and says what he says, and he's not going to be there, you're going to have to take that place because we have a void. You have to take that place, and they're big shoes to fill. And
big.
and he would do it not every night, but pretty regularly. And he would just kind of, this is legally how it is, and that's why he's gospel to us.
And
because
someone put
legally
in your. I'm sorry, Tom. Someone put in your chat. He was very calming, and he calmed me as well.
Yes. So with him going to Karen's team, that void is you, whether you like it or not. You're it. Tag.
You tagged me.
You're
Oh
it.
well,
That is your cross to carry because we each got one, right?
we do. I will tell all of your supporters and all of the Free Karen Read, parts of the movement. I will do everything I can to give you information, keep you calm, break it down, maybe add a little bit of smart sassiness or snark,
Mhm.
whatever you want to
We're
call
from
it.
New England, we expect it.
Yeah, like it's part of my nature, but I will never to all of you ever be able to replace Bedro. It was a
Well,
coincidence that he kind of got called up right after I kind of just stepped in. There was no it was simply a legit coincidence, unlike the Karen Reed case.
God's a funny guy. He does funny stuff, doesn't he? This is one of his things. Hey, I'm gonna send you Nan. So
Aw.
just so
Well,
you
I
know,
hope
you're more than welcome. Open door to pretty much any content creator. Brian will give you one mic. I mean, Melanie, I forget. I mean, just so many people.
they're so
So
everyone's so wonderful, and I love that I'm a fan of them all. So I want them all to know that. And I'll do what I can, Tom. And I hope one day to be able to meet you in person because you've really emotionally touched me on so many different moments. Not just sad ones like when you handled the anniversary of John O'Keefe's death, which
yep,
really touched me. But
yep,
even just being told when you were told to fuck off by Krowski or
yeah,
Phil Daniels,
yeah.
like that emotionally touched me too. I need you in my life, and I hope one day to be able to meet you in person, give you a big hug.
Listen, when you come up, let me know, and we'll make it happen. How's that?
One of these
But
days, if I can get up there, I will.
let us know so we can set it up and we'll bring you to the waterfall, show you the 34
Ooh,
Fairview, give you like a little tour around. You'd
thank
like it.
you.
So, but listen
Thanks so much.
again, thank you for your time so much. And if you
Thank
need
you.
anything, I'm more than happy to help you. Open door here. If you want to jump on any morning, Brian jumps on once in a while, so we kind of like leave it open for anyone to just pop on if they want. Joe Flipperhead was on.
Oh,
So,
that's wonderful. I
but
appreciate that. And I may take you up on that offer. Always
please,
ask, Tom.
yeah,
Always
no,
ask.
listen, you're more than welcome.
Thank you.
So,
And thanks to all of you viewers who tuned in this morning and to those who are watching on replay. Keep showing up.
yep, that's half the battle, right?
It's half the battle.
So, and again, I personally thank you for what you've contributed already for Karen
Aw.
because it helps her. She sees that she sees what we're talking about, and she knows that it's a dead end or it's something. We don't know that, but like she said, she's on it every single day.
She
If we
doesn't
can,
know
if
if
we,
anything's a dead end or not. So she's
and
got to
she's
look.
chasing every one of them down, right?
Yeah.
So if we can do anything to help her, I'm all in.
So am I, Tom. We're gonna make a great team, but I'll never in any way be able to compare to all that you've done. Your viewers and all of the supporters, you are beloved to them, and you are the most important piece to this movement. So much
Yeah, I have a
respect to you.
problem with that. I don't see myself that way. I just
Yeah, it's
want to do with
wonderful.
the camera, but either way.
Oh man,
So
I can't wait to see it in action one of these days.
one of these days, LaFerno.
Thank you. Bye everyone. Take care.
Bye, dear.
Bye.
All right, guys. There's your show for today. I guess we'll see you tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock tomorrow. Gotta sleep in. And hope everyone stays safe. Nan, please give her some love. We welcome her to this community. I'd like we welcome anybody, really. There's more coming. Stay tuned, guys. There's more coming. And I will have my camera and I will be boots on the ground with you guys. So, love you guys. If you need to get in touch with me, cputom@gmail. I also got to thank all my mods. My mods just they rock. I can't do what I do without my mods, and they can't do it without you guys. And Glenn, thank you for what 50 memberships today. My goodness, and again to the super chats. I'm sorry I didn't get to them and I didn't read them. I will go over. We're going to recap this tomorrow, and all these super chats I'm going to bring up and talk about them tomorrow. So, all right, that's then half of that goes to Nan, and we'll figure out the difference. We'll definitely. I mean, we just made so much. Man, we're making money for Karen. We got to keep doing this, guys. You guys make me proud. This is awesome. Every little bit helps. So, oh, pizza Saturday down the Cape. If you go to the Bourne standout and hold a sign, we'll get you pizza. We'll feed you. So you guys are more than welcome to come down and give you more information about that tomorrow. Everybody have a great day, and thank you so much, all knick-knack. Thanks, guys. I love you all. And again, I thank Nan for a great interview. Brilliant. Catch you all tomorrow morning.